Hey, what's cracking, the room? Sugar, come sit down because if your name happens to be Cardi B this afternoon, you already know the internet is holding your ankles and shaking your pockets, and every single bracelet, every single caption, every single shade of gray Cardi B has worn in the last 30 days has now been turned into forensic evidence by the timeline. Track with me because Cardi B did not kind of leak the name of her fourth child Cardi B fully, completely, and on her own camera let that baby's government name slip right out of her wrist, and by the time Cardi B went back to scrub the post, the algorithm had already screenshotted, cropped, zoomed, enhanced, and gift-wrapped the whole thing for the group chat. Welcome in, this is your favorite corner of the internet, and if you like receipts, if you like timelines, if you like watching a beaded bracelet do more work than a paternity test, then you are in the exact right place, so hit that like button, hit the notification bell, and let us open the folder because this one is a 5-alarm situation. Because sugar, this is not one story, this is 3, and every single one of them ties back to the same house. We are going to unpack how Cardi B slipped up on the baby name after Cardi B promised, on everything she loved, that she was going to hold it hostage until Christmas. We are going to unpack how Mama Diggs manifested a full Washington Commanders contract on Instagram like she was running a hotline prayer request line, and it actually factually on paper worked. And then because the internet does not sleep and neither do the exes, we are going to unpack why Chris Blake Griffith has decided that this week of all weeks in a calendar year is the week he starts posting throwback pictures of him and Stefon Diggs to a Destiny's Child breakup song. And no sugar, that is not a joke, that is Tuesday afternoon on the main feed with the volume up. So let us rewind. Cardi B has been guarding this baby like it is a nuclear launch code. Cardi B has been calling him baby touchdown. Cardi B has been calling him baby burrito. Cardi B has been calling him baby brim. Cardi B has been calling him little bean. Cardi B has been calling him every single food group and weather pattern except the one thing his birth certificate actually says. And the room absolutely knew that Cardi B was going to crack because Cardi B always cracks. Cardi B cracked with wave. Cardi B cracked with culture. And most recently, Cardi B cracked with Blossom. And the way Cardi B cracked with Blossom is exactly the way Cardi B just cracked with this brand new baby boy this week. Let me refresh you. When Blossom was born, Cardi B posted a picture of her stack of bracelets, the little beaded ones the celebrity moms love, the ones with the tiny letter cubes on them, and one of the beads spelled out the name. One eagle-eyed fan zoomed in, and within 20 minutes the entire timeline had the name, the pronunciation, the numerology, and a full working theory about the middle name and the meaning behind it. Cardi B deleted the post, but the internet does not delete. The internet remembers. The internet keeps a Google Drive folder full of screenshots for exactly this occasion. So you would think that Cardi B, having learned the lesson once already, would keep her wrists off the camera for at least one calendar year. But no. Cardi B posted a fresh stack of pictures this week. And guess what she was wearing? Bracelets. Beaded bracelets. With names on them. Wave, Culture, Blossom. And one more little band with a 5-letter word that starts with G. And now the whole internet is standing up saying the exact same word at the exact same time. Gray. Or possibly Grayson. Because whichever way you spin the wrist in that photograph, that fourth bracelet says the same thing on every single frame. Now hold on, wait, track with me because this is the part where the story goes from a slip to a strategy. Sugar. Cardi B has been dropping breadcrumbs about the color gray for weeks now. Cardi B has been showing up in gray dresses, gray coats, gray hoodies, gray sweatsuits, gray puffers, gray everything. Cardi B has been posting stories with gray filters. Cardi B has been posting selfies in front of gray walls. And who, pray tell, keeps sliding into the comment section every single time Cardi B wears the color? None other than Stefon Diggs himself, who has been sitting under those posts leaving little heart emojis and captions that read, and I quote, "My favorite color." End quote. And Cardi B, playing coy for the audience, has been responding with WG jokes and heart eyes and giggling emojis, and the whole room has been sitting here going, wait a minute, are y'all trying to tell us something? Well, sugar, they were. They absolutely were. Stefon Diggs, per every credible source pointing at this bracelet, appears to have named the baby after his favorite color, and the internet has now ruled that the baby is either Gray or Grayson, and either way the fandom has already picked sides. But here is where it gets deliciously New York. The moment the name Gray hit TikTok, an entire generation of Bronx and Brooklyn stood up in unison and said, wait, hold on, do y'all not know? Gray brim. Gray brim. In New York City, particularly if you grew up running with certain crews and wearing certain fitteds in a certain era, a gray brim on a black nasty new era hat is not a fashion choice, it is a passport. It is what you wore when you stepped outside. It is the difference between belonging and getting laughed off the block. And Cardi B, of course, is a proud Bronx woman who has publicly claimed her set for years and never once stuttered on it. So the theory taking over the timeline right now is that Baby Brim, the little nickname Cardi B has been using publicly for months, was never random. Baby Brim was a hint. Baby Brim was the setup. And Baby Gray was the punchline the whole time. Cardi B was standing there giggling to herself the entire summer while the room was out here guessing Liam and Milan and Maverick and Malachi like fools. And here is the tea inside the tea, Sugar. I do not think Cardi B picked this name. I really honestly truly do not. If you go through the naming history of Cardi B's children, there is a very clear pattern. Culture came from Offset, that is the name of the Migos album, come on now, do the math with me. Wave also has Offset's fingerprints all over it. Blossom, that one Cardi B picked herself, and everybody knows Cardi B picked Blossom during a very specific storm cloud in her relationship, so that name has a whole other layer of meaning we are not even going to unpack today because it would take another 20 minutes. But this new one, this Gray or Grayson situation, Sugar, that has Stefon Diggs' handprints all over it. Cardi B has a documented habit of letting the daddies pick the boys' names, and if there was ever a man who was going to name his firstborn son after the exact color he wears to every single football game, it is number one on the Washington Commanders' brand new roster. Speaking of the Washington Commanders, oh, we are getting there, so keep your seatbelt buckled because Mama Diggs has entered the chat, and Mama Diggs has entered the chat swinging a rosary in one hand and a group text in the other. Now the room knows, if you have been following this saga for even 5 minutes, that Stefon Diggs was in football purgatory for a beat. Stefon Diggs was doing workouts on Instagram. Stefon Diggs was posting drill videos at 9 in the morning, at noon, at 4 in the afternoon, at midnight, at the crack of dawn. The man was auditioning in real time on a public timeline, and the whole internet was watching him grind. And Mama Diggs, bless her whole entire soul, was up on that same Instagram every single day dry begging. And I mean dry begging with the audacity of a woman who does not know what the word no means, for the Washington Commanders to sign her son. Mama Diggs was tagging the team account. Mama Diggs was tagging the head coach. Mama Diggs was tagging every single player on the active roster. Bring the Commanders home, Mama Diggs said. Where the Commanders fans at, Mama Diggs said. Let us get a natty in 2026, Mama Diggs said. Magic Johnson, call me, Mama Diggs said. And she was serious. She was not playing. She was clocked in. And here is the part that will make you believe in the mystical power of a mother's Instagram. It worked. It absolutely, factually, on paper worked. Because Stefon Diggs, as of this week, has officially, formally, and with a signed contract, joined the Washington Commanders on a one-year deal reportedly worth up to $12 million for the 2026 season. $12 million. So Mama Diggs, Sugar, if you are watching this right now, we need to talk about your prayer closet, because whatever you have going on in there is more powerful than most people's actual religions, and I would like to subscribe to your newsletter. And the room is happy for Stefon Diggs. We are legitimately happy for him. Because if the man is about to have a lineup of child support obligations across multiple households, and he probably is because we all see what we see, Stefon Diggs is going to need every single penny of that Commander's check, plus tips, plus signing bonus, plus whatever incentives are hidden in the fine print, plus playoff shares if the Commanders make a run. Unemployment is a scary thing at any income bracket. Going from tens of millions to zero in a single offseason will humble a grown man in ways therapy cannot fix. So kudos to Stefon Diggs for landing on his feet in the DMV. Kudos to Mama Diggs for the manifestation clinic she is running out of her Instagram grid. And kudos to Cardi B for producing a whole entire baby in the middle of the chaos, and still finding time to leak the name on a bracelet. Everybody won this week. Well, almost everybody. There is one man who did not win, and we are about to get to him right now. Because now, moving on, take a deep breath with me, we have to talk about Chris Blake Griffith. Because Chris Blake Griffith is not moving on. Chris Blake Griffith is very much still in the archives. Chris Blake Griffith has decided that this week of all weeks, while Stefon Diggs is signing new contracts and welcoming a new baby and starting a new chapter with a new team in a new city, he is going to open up his phone, scroll all the way back to the good old days, and post a photo essay so loaded that even the algorithm blushed and had to take a lap. Because Sugar, Chris Blake Griffith has been posting throwback pictures of himself and Stefon Diggs like the two of them just went through a public breakup on primetime television. Matching graphic t-shirts. Matching designer sneakers. Front row seats at NFL games. Rodeo trips. Yes, Sugar, rodeo trips. Two grown men in cowboy hats at a rodeo, sharing a plate of nachos. And overlaying every single one of these pictures on his story and his grid is a song. Not just any song, one very specific song that Chris Blake Griffith clearly picked with a whole lot of intention. A Destiny's Child deep cut called T-shirt. And if you have never listened to the Destiny's Child track T-shirt, Sugar, let me help you out real quick. That song is not a friend song. That song is not a bestie song. That song is not a homie song. That song is not even a situationship song. That song is the song you play when a man leaves your apartment for the last time, and you crawl into his old t-shirt and sob into the cotton because that man was your entire everything. The chorus is literally about smelling the cologne left on the fabric, about sleeping in the shirt, about waking up in the shirt, about missing him so hard the shirt becomes a substitute human being. That is the song Chris Blake Griffith chose. On purpose. Loudly. And the pictures are stacked underneath the song like exhibits in a courtroom. Track with me. Exhibit A. Chris Blake Griffith and Stefon Diggs in matching graphic tees. Arms slung around each other. Looking at each other the way people look at each other when the camera is a formality and the affection is the real story. Exhibit B. Chris Blake Griffith at an NFL game front row courtesy of you-know-who, filming himself with the field behind him like he had unlimited access to the sideline. Exhibit C. A shopping trip on Rodeo Drive, bags stacked, two men picking through cashmere and Balenciaga like it is Saturday morning laundry day. Exhibit D. And this is the one that made the entire timeline gasp out loud, so brace yourself. Chris Blake Griffith wearing a t-shirt in a solo mirror selfie. Chris Blake Griffith. In a t-shirt. The song playing. And then in the very next slide of the carousel Stefon Diggs, in the exact same t-shirt, with a little accessory around his neck that looks a whole entire lot like a collar with a bone charm dangling from it. A bone charm, sugar. On a grown professional football player. Around his neck. In public. On the internet forever. Now, the room does not want to say what the room is thinking, but the room is thinking it very, very loudly at the same time. Because there is a particular subgenre of relationship. I am not going to spell it out because YouTube will demonetize me faster than Cardi B deletes bracelet pictures. But let us just say that in that subgenre one person barks and the other person holds the leash, and the bone charm is typically not a fashion accessory. The bone charm is a signal. The bone charm is a costume. And Chris Blake Griffith, by pairing that specific photograph with the t-shirt song and posting them back to back in the same carousel, is not being subtle. Chris Blake Griffith is telling the room, in a language every single person online can read, that whatever was going on between these two men was not a stylist and client working arrangement. The caption on the post, sugar. Do not skip past the caption. Chris Blake Griffith wrote, quote, "Tell lies about me and I'll tell truth about you," end quote, which is a very specific quote from a very specific Kendrick Lamar diss track that everyone in the room recognizes on sight, and then followed it up with, quote, "It's been my destiny since a child," end quote, and stacked emojis at the end that included what appeared to be a broken heart, a laughing crying face, and a whole visual essay of complicated grown feelings. Chris Blake Griffith is not okay. Chris Blake Griffith is going through it. Chris Blake Griffith wants the entire world to know he is going through it. And more importantly, more pointedly, more strategically, Chris Blake Griffith wants Stefon Diggs to know he is going through it, from wherever Stefon Diggs is currently sitting on that new commander's payroll. And under the post the DL Whisperer showed up, that anonymous account that does exactly what its name says it does, and left a comment that said, and I quote, "Chris, let it out. I used to be just like this. This too shall pass." Which is the internet's polite way of saying, sugar, we know what you are grieving, we have grieved the same thing. Put the phone down and go for a walk before you post something you cannot delete. Now, let me be crystal clear before the lawyers start loading up their keyboards on my comment section. This is alleged. All of this is alleged. Nobody has confirmed a romantic relationship. Stefon Diggs has denied every single accusation from Chris Blake Griffith since day one of this saga. And Stefon Diggs is currently sitting in an ongoing defamation lawsuit with him over these very allegations. That is a fact that is on record, and the room is not adjudicating anything. The room is simply observing what Chris Blake Griffith has chosen to post on his own account, on his own timeline with his own hands in front of God and the algorithm and every gossip account in the country. If the man had wanted the world to think this was a purely business relationship between a stylist and his athlete client, the man would not have chosen the t-shirt song. He would have chosen literally any other song in the Spotify catalog. He would have chosen the Blockbuster theme. He would have chosen the Wheel of Fortune bumper. He would have chosen the SpongeBob campfire song. But no, he chose t-shirt. On purpose. Loudly. And the room heard him at full volume. And speaking of receipts, let me take you back to the courtroom because Chris Blake Griffith is not just posting sad songs and throwback pictures. Chris Blake Griffith is also actively adding brand new evidence to his active legal case against Stefon Diggs as we speak. According to filings that have been widely reported across TMZ and other outlets, Chris Blake Griffith obtained text messages and phone records during the discovery process. The same discovery process Stefon Diggs was reportedly fighting tooth and nail to avoid for months. And those records allegedly show coordination on the day of a physical altercation that Chris Blake Griffith says put him in a hospital. Allegedly, sugar. Allegedly. Every single word of that paragraph is alleged. Nothing has been proven. Do not sue me. But here is what the paperwork allegedly shows. Chris Blake Griffith is claiming that there is a phone call placed by Stefon Diggs at the exact moment his alleged attackers were physically inside the building where the altercation happened, and that the same assistant who has been visible in the periphery of the Stefon Diggs empire for years was allegedly handling flight bookings and hotel arrangements for one of the alleged assailants on that same day. Chris Blake Griffith wants to bring all of this in front of a jury. Chris Blake Griffith wants his full day in open court. And Chris Blake Griffith wants to add a defamation counterclaim of his own to the pile, because he says Stefon Diggs' social media posts about him, and by extension the very public defense that Cardi B briefly waded into on Instagram Live before Cardi B wisely stepped back, have damaged his professional reputation. Now do you understand, Sugar, why Cardi B has gone completely, suddenly, mysteriously silent this week? Cardi B was out here at 9 in the morning on Instagram Live defending a man Cardi B was actively beefing with, and then Cardi B got a phone call from somebody with a law degree and a monogram briefcase, and suddenly Cardi B is not saying a single word about Chris Blake Griffith. Not a whisper. Not a story. Not a comment. Not a shady Bracelet post. Cardi B has zipped it all the way up. And when Cardi B zips it, Sugar, you know the situation is real, because Cardi B does not know how to be quiet unless a very serious grown-up has explained to her, in very slow English with visual aids, that every single word she says can and will be used against her at a later date in a real courtroom with real consequences. So let us pull it all together, because this is a lot of information and I want to make sure the room is following me. In one single week, one 7-day stretch, the following has happened. Cardi B has accidentally revealed, via a beaded bracelet photograph, that her fourth child is likely named Gray or Grayson, a name that ties directly to Stefon Diggs' publicly stated favorite color and doubles as a New York cultural reference that also happens to align perfectly with the baby brim nickname Cardi B has been using publicly for months. Stefon Diggs, thanks in no small part to his mother's Instagram prayer marathon, has been signed by the Washington Commanders on a contract reportedly worth up to $12 million for the 2026 season, ending months of speculation about whether any team would take a chance on him given the off-field noise. And Chris Blake Griffith, in the middle of all of this professional glow-up happening for Stefon Diggs, has decided to post a photo essay set to Destiny's Child's t-shirt that has the internet convinced he is publicly mourning a relationship that Stefon Diggs has never confirmed existed. All while a defamation lawsuit continues to unfold in a courtroom that neither Instagram nor TikTok nor Cardi B nor Stefon Diggs, nor Chris Blake Griffith can spin their way out of. That is a full news cycle. That is 3 headlines. That is the entire E! News Sunday roundup packed into 1 week for one household. And the room is exhausted just typing it out. Imagine actually living inside of it with paparazzi outside your door. Now Sugar, let me tell you what I think, because you clicked on this video for the read, and I am not going to disappoint you. I think Cardi B has known for the last 6 months exactly what everybody was going to figure out about the name, and I think Cardi B was strategically leaking little breadcrumbs the whole time so that when the name finally dropped it would land as a discovery instead of an announcement. That is a very Cardi B move. Cardi B is not a woman who accidentally does anything on camera. Cardi B is a seasoned professional. Cardi B has been on stages since before some of you watching were born. Cardi B knows what a bracelet in a photograph looks like when it hits her front-facing camera. Cardi B knows what a wrist shot is and how to angle around it. Cardi B knows exactly what she is doing every single time she presses upload. I think Mama Diggs is running an actual functioning prayer economy over there in the Diggs household. And if Mama Diggs starts a subscription service, sign me up, because whatever Mama Diggs prayed for her son is currently paying $12 million in Landover, Maryland, and I could use $12 million in Landover, Maryland or anywhere else with a zip code. And I think Chris Blake Griffith, Sugar, whether or not the alleged relationship existed the exact way he is presenting it, is a man who is very publicly not okay right now. And there is a version of this story where a jury eventually looks at the t-shirt post, looks at the caption, looks at the pictures, looks at the emojis, and decides that the emotional narrative is corroborating evidence in a way no legal team could have scripted or coached. That is what makes this case so combustible on the record. It is not just the paperwork. It is the mood board. It is the playlist. It is the archive. But I do want to open the floor because this is the room and the room has opinions and the room deserves to be heard. So tell me in the comments 3 things right now. First, do you think the baby's name is Gray or Grayson? And which one do you think is cuter for a little boy? Vote in the comments. I am counting the tally in real time. Second, do you think Cardi B leaked the name on purpose because Cardi B was tired of holding the secret? Or was it a real accident that Cardi B is now pretending was on purpose to save face? And third, and this is the spicy one, do you believe that Chris Blake Griffith is telling the truth about the true nature of his relationship with Stefon Diggs? Or do you believe Stefon Diggs' defense that this is all a fabrication designed to extort a wealthy athlete? I want to see the split in the comments. I want to see the numbers. I want to see the polite fights break out in the replies. Be respectful, be legal, but be honest with yourself. And listen, before I let you go, I have to circle back to one detail I skipped over earlier, because it has been bothering me since I first saw the pictures. In one of the throwback carousels that Chris Blake Griffith posted this week, there is a specific moment where Stefon Diggs is looking directly at the camera, and Chris Blake Griffith is looking at Stefon Diggs. And if you have ever been the person in a photograph who is looking at the other person while they look at the lens, you already know exactly what that dynamic communicates. That is not a business photograph. That is a memory photograph. That is the kind of picture you take when you think this arrangement is going to last forever. And when it does not last forever, that is the picture you post at midnight with the Destiny's Child song underneath, and a broken heart emoji floating at the end. The room saw it. Chris Blake Griffith absolutely knew we would see it. That is exactly why he posted it in the first place. Now Sugar, I know what you are typing right now. You are typing, hold on, is Cardi B going to address this bracelet situation? Is Stefon Diggs going to respond to the t-shirt post? Is Chris Blake Griffith going to take the whole carousel down after the algorithm eats it up? Nobody knows for certain. That is exactly why we are going to be sitting right back in this exact same room in about 48 hours doing a full follow-up breakdown. Because the way this story is currently moving, 48 hours from now we are going to have 3 new developments, at least one fresh Instagram live from Cardi B, and probably one more post from Chris Blake Griffith with a Mary J. Blige song under it, because Chris Blake Griffith is not done with the discography rollout. Promise you. Mark my words. Screenshot this video and come back and thank me. And here is the little bonus rumor I am going to leave you with, and I want you to sit with this for a minute because it is going to keep you up tonight. Somebody, somewhere on TikTok, and I am not going to name the specific account because I do not have permission to signal boost them, is claiming that a photograph of the baby was accidentally left visible on a story that Cardi B uploaded and then deleted within about 40 seconds. I have not personally seen the photograph. I cannot confirm that the photograph exists in the wild. But if the photograph exists and if it does show what people are saying it shows, then Cardi B is not just having a bracelet week, Cardi B is having an entire photo album week and the internet is about to feast. And if any of you in the comments have receipts on that specific photograph, drop them respectfully because the room wants to see. Nothing weird. Just curious. Just cataloging. Just cross-referencing. And one more thing before the outro, because I would be doing you a disservice if I did not mention it. Stefon Diggs, in the middle of the contract signing, in the middle of the baby name drama, in the middle of the Chris Blake Griffith post storm, has reportedly been extremely quiet on his own personal social media. Which is interesting. Which is telling. Because Stefon Diggs is normally a very online man. Stefon Diggs normally has jokes on the timeline. Stefon Diggs normally has cryptic Instagram stories with rap lyrics pasted on them. Stefon Diggs normally has something to say. And this week Stefon Diggs has posted almost nothing beyond the standard contract announcement graphic, and one polite thank you to his new teammates. Which tells me, and this is just my personal read, that somebody in Stefon Diggs' camp, probably a lawyer, probably a manager, probably both, has locked down the phone and taken the keys away. Which is smart. Which is very smart. Because in situations like this, silence is the only defense that does not later become an exhibit in someone else's lawsuit filed by someone else's attorney in someone else's courtroom. So Sugar, wrap it up with me one more time. Cardi B leaked the baby's name on a bracelet, and it is either Gray or Grayson. Stefon Diggs signed with the Washington Commanders for up to $12 million because his mother would not stop praying on the timeline until the phone rang. And Chris Blake Griffith is posting Destiny's Child songs under throwback pictures, like he is starring in his own limited streaming series about heartbreak in the athlete industrial complex. That is your week. That is your headline. That is your reading assignment. That is the tape. Now if you made it all the way here to the outro, Sugar, you already know the drill by heart. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so YouTube stops hiding me from you, and drop your verdict in the comments below. Team Gray or Team Grayson? Team Accidental Leak or Team Strategic Reveal? Team Chris Blake Griffith is telling the truth or Team Stefon Diggs is telling the truth? I want to see every single opinion respectfully in that comment section because you know I read them, and you know I quote them back in the next round when I do the follow-up. So put your opinion on record. Get your name in the credits. And speaking of the next round, do not go anywhere yet because right after this I have a whole separate breakdown video queued up about the way Cardi B has been dressing since the baby was born, and I have receipts on which specific pieces are from Stefon Diggs' clothing brand and which specific pieces are from Offset's clothing brand, because there is a whole silent style war happening in Cardi B's closet right now and nobody is talking about it except this channel and one very brave stylist on TikTok. So click the next video, keep the session going, and I will meet you over there in about 5 seconds. Until then, Sugar, keep your bracelets off the front-facing camera if you have secrets, keep your phone locked down if you have enemies with paperwork, and keep your throwback photo folder closed if you are not ready for the internet to fill in the blanks with the Destiny's Child track playing underneath. This is the room. That is the read. That is the tea. And I will see you in the next round with more receipts than a Black Friday cashier. Bye for now, Sugar. Take care of yourselves. Do not forget to hydrate. And do not, under any circumstances, post a bracelet. Before we roll into the last thought, Sugar, let me pull one more thread you might have missed while everybody was zooming in on the bracelet. Cardi B has been on a very specific playlist rotation these last 2 weeks, and if you have been paying attention to her Instagram story soundtracks the way the room has been paying attention, you already caught it. Cardi B has been playing lullaby remixes. Cardi B has been playing slow R&B. Cardi B has been playing a Frank Ocean track that has the word gray in the second verse, and I am not making that up, go check the archive. Cardi B has been curating a mood board with her music selections, and the mood board has been called gray the entire time, and nobody flagged it because nobody was watching the audio, everybody was watching the outfits. That, Sugar, is a masterclass in celebrity misdirection. Cardi B was showing us the answer in stereo, and we were still turning the pages of the wrong textbook. And while we are on the subject of what nobody flagged, let us talk about Stefon Diggs' little Instagram footprint from 3 weekends ago. Stefon Diggs posted a photograph of a Washington Commanders jersey draped over a chair. No caption, no tags, no context, just a jersey and a shadow across the sleeve. At the time, everybody assumed Stefon Diggs was thirst-trapping the front office. Everybody assumed Stefon Diggs was campaigning. But now, in hindsight, with the contract on paper and the baby name on the bracelet, that photograph reads completely differently. That photograph reads like a soft launch. That photograph reads like Stefon Diggs was telling the internet, here is where I am going and here is what the color of my new life is going to be. And Cardi B was on the other end of the phone laughing because she already knew. Coordinated soft launches, Sugar. That is what powerful couples do. That is what people do when they have publicists on retainer and a shared calendar app. And one more receipt for the road because the room deserves closure. The bracelet vendor, yes, Sugar, there is a specific bracelet vendor because celebrity moms do not shop retail, they shop bespoke, has been posting little teaser reels of custom beaded pieces in a very specific font for the last month, and one of those teaser reels featured a 5-letter word that the vendor blurred out with a heart emoji. The vendor did not name the client. The vendor did not need to name the client. Because the moment Cardi B posted her wrist, the room reverse image searched the vendor's grid and found the blurred reel and matched the font and matched the bead spacing and matched the exact clasp. That is the level of forensic loyalty this fanbase is running on right now. That is how deep the receipts go. Cardi B cannot post a hangnail without the timeline turning it into a doctoral thesis by lunchtime. And honestly, Cardi B should be flattered, because most celebrities cannot get that much engagement on their own weddings. One more sidebar and then I will really let you go, I promise. There is a rumor swirling, and again this is a rumor, not a confirmation, do not clip this and put it in a headline, that Offset has been sending very carefully worded congratulations through mutual friends but has not posted anything publicly, which is Offset behavior when Offset is trying to look mature and gracious for the audience while privately being extremely aware that his ex just named a baby after his replacement's favorite color. That is not a small psychological event. That is a whole entire situation. And the room is watching to see when Offset finally breaks the silence because Offset always breaks the silence and Offset never breaks it politely. If you are still reading, still watching, still scrolling with me, here is a bonus theory the room has been kicking around all afternoon. What if the reason Cardi B has been dressing the baby in exclusively gray onesies in the two blurry, half-cropped photographs we have been allowed to see of him is because Cardi B has been telling us the name from the very first Instagram post? What if the gray onesies were never a coincidence? What if the gray blanket in the hospital photograph was never a coincidence? What if the gray pacifier in the corner of one of the Cardi B mirror selfies from 3 weeks ago was never a coincidence? Because Sugar, when you line up every single gray-coded photograph Cardi B has posted in the last 90 days and put them next to that bracelet, it looks less like a slip and more like a slow, meticulously choreographed rollout, which would make Cardi B not the victim of a leak, but the architect of the biggest baby name reveal since Beyoncé dropped Blue Ivy on the internet. And if that is the case, then Cardi B does not owe anybody an apology and Cardi B does not owe anybody a correction, because Cardi B just ran a 6-month campaign under the noses of every gossip account in the country and closed it with a bracelet on a Tuesday afternoon. That is genius. That is villain arc genius. That is masterclass genius. And if the room can prove it, Cardi B goes down as the reigning champion of celebrity baby PR for the entire decade, and every other celebrity mom currently pregnant is going to have to rewrite her playbook by Friday. Drop your verdict in the comments. Genius or accident? Rollout or leak? Cardi B is either a 5-dimensional chess player or the luckiest bracelet wearer in the entire game, and only the timeline can tell us which. I love you all, I appreciate you all. I will see every single one of you in the next round with more updates, more receipts and more Destiny's Child. Bye.